Hello, welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. My name is Maria Isabel Rios and I'm joined by David A. Fields. Hello, David.
Well, Maria Isabel, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you too. Welcome to the space where we answer your questions about how to create more success and more delight in your consulting firm for you, for your clients, and for others. The space thrives on discussions and on questions that you bring and on comments that you also bring to enhance the conversation. So if you're here, say hello. We cannot see you, so the only way we know you're here is through your chat comments, and we always welcome participation, right? And also, if you have a question, type it in the chat right now. It takes us sometimes a minute to see it. We want to make sure when we get to it. So, what question brought you into this space today? And as you think and as you type, Jaren, why don't you share with us the first question that came in during the week? Thank you. Okay, this question is from Alex.
Dang, that's long.
It is a long question. All right, so here goes. My EA has been supporting me for a couple of years, and they're capable of excellent quality work. They're going through a major life change, so we have temporarily adapted our work schedule and division of responsibilities. It seemed to work for a couple of weeks, but then performance issues started surfacing again to the point where I missed a couple of important meetings and my team are getting outdated or wrong information. I'm having to redo the information. It's unsustainable, of course. And you're so familiar with managing EAs and how to make the most out of the leverage we get. How should I think about my options? And in your experience, what's realistic? I need help. And hello, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
All right.
Okay.
So what do you advise?
Wow.
For Alex?
So that's a really interesting question. So, and I'm not sure there's one answer. It'll be interesting to see where you come out on this, Maria Isabel, versus where I come
All
out.
right.
Because I think it depends a little bit on your values as a firm and your personal values as a firm leader. We know, Maria Isabel, you and I each have clients that are we would consider pretty hardcore. And if someone's performance is not there, which it sounds like what's happened, their performance has fallen off, they're like, okay, good, you're done. There's just no room for that. And we have, I think each of us have clients that view their team as a family, and they'll do everything they can to protect that family. So, and I don't think there's a right way, but I think that for you as a firm leader, Alex, and all of you who are watching either live or in replay, I think it's important for you to know your values, right? And to have articulated them and to think them through. What are my values and how do they relate to how we work as a team? So all of that said, I think almost no matter what your value system, you do need to have a conversation with your EA and name what you're seeing. Right? This is what I'm observing. This is what I see happening. So these are just the facts, and this is the impact on the organization. So you have to be very clear, because they may not be seeing the same thing. So maybe your facts are askew. So get aligned on the facts. Assuming you're aligned on the facts, and ask the EA what they think needs to happen so that they can get back to their usual performance. Do they need a break? Do they need a month off? Or something else, and then you can make a decision. I don't think that for any consulting firm, there's really room for performance that would compromise your revenue or compromise the client experience. But that said, depending on what they say and depending on your value system, you can plan it different ways. That was a little bit of a mushy answer, Maria Isabel. Where do you come out in a different place, or do you have a more concise way of saying it?
I think I come out exactly at the same place.
Okay.
And the way I like to think about it is, look, all things being equal, what's the best outcome for everybody? And that includes the EA, right? And it touches to the value system you were speaking about. Even when firms had the philosophy, right? It's either performance at a certain level or people quickly move out. Even in that context, the best thing for the EA as well is to know where they stand and to potentially have either an opportunity to repair or make define their next step in their own career, right? Silence does not help anybody. And supporting a team member does not imply that you're accepting underperformance either, right? So there are ways in which you can address underperformance that are very supportive of the person on the other end. In this case, it happens to be an EA, but sometimes it's not an EA, right? Sometimes it's somebody in deliver, sometimes it's a partner. We all go through life changes. So how do you, first of all, as you said, David, what's the decision path here? What are the alternatives that the firm is willing to put on the table in this case? And what's a way of addressing that also takes into account that underperformance is unsustainable and unacceptable, right? How are you going to make up for performance gaps? So that's where I come out, which is basically same type of
very
thinking.
similar. You know, I have a question for our listener. Again, which maybe they can chime in, whether you are again watching this live or whether you're watching it on replay. We're filming this on June 9th. We're doing this live on June 9th, 2025. And I'm really curious for all of you who are consultants, what you're seeing in the market right now, because we seem to be seeing a little bit of a shift over the past almost 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm really curious whether you're seeing it shift and open up, or it's gotten better or worse. So if you're here live, just type in. And if you're on replay, still type in the comments, because that'd be helpful. And Suzanne said, we have to remember how hard it is to find the right people and be right side up with staff. Yeah, exactly. As well, without compromising client experience. Yeah, agree with you, Suzanne.
Exactly. That's a thread line that I think brought Alex to ask the question, right? What do you do?
Yeah. And it's hard. I don't know if there's a single correct answer, but I do think there are probably some bright lines for every firm. So,
absolutely.
All right. We're not seeing questions come in. Jaron, do we have anything else in the grab bag? If so, let's grab one and give it to Maria Isabel. Oh, another long one. I have a prospect that I worked with when I was consulting at a larger firm. At the time, the firm charged per hour. Okay, yeah, large firms do that. I was available after hours, taking on lots of work that was out of scope. It was good work, very successful client relationship over 10 years ago. And the firm no longer does this type of work. Since then, I founded a solo consultancy. Okay, good. It's now a sizable boutique. Congratulations. We're the best known experts in our niche. All good. Yeah, that's excellent. Here's the problem. I've moved on. My prospect is anchored to the original model. Yeah. How can I share our ways of working without risking the whole project? We are a value-based, people and client balanced, well-defined project firm delivering high-touch projects without burning out teams. Oh, wow. What an interesting situation. What do you think, Maria Isabel? So I had 10 years ago, big firm model. Now he's the expert, but running a small firm in the kind of model that we advocate for. What do you think? How does Brady navigate that?
Well, first of all, congratulations, Brady, in setting up your own firm, setting it up to the success level you have, and in driving through the value of your expertise, which it's embedded in between the lines of what you wrote, but it's really what's driving the client relationship and the longevity of your relationship through time, right? So now to your specific question, right? You're 10 years later, you don't want to repeat the ways of operating that a firm you did not control had, right? And you don't want the client to walk away feeling they're not getting what they want and what they need. In my experience, this calls for a very transparent approach and a very transparent conversation where you are separating your now from what it was in as many points as possible and as explicitly as possible. And you're mapping out what remains the same. So how could this sound like, right? You will find that in my firm, this is the way we approach projects. This is the way we define projects. This is the way we set up fees. You will work with a team that will respond in this time. Now, that will get you this level of client experience. This is our commitment to you, right? We're not available weekends and nights like we were before in general. However, you will get high levels of responsiveness. We continuously address, address situations when they come up in this way. This is how you and I will keep aligned, so that if there are changes in scope, we address them in this way. And you're very explicit about what's the same and what has changed. What is the same and perhaps even a lot better: the value you can deliver, the expertise you bring to the table, the knowledge, and what creates success for your client, which is why your client is actually coming back to you. So reaffirm how those elements that brought the client back to you continue to be in place. We're saying, look, in the day-to-day, this may sound a little different. These are the differences. This is going to look a little different. These are the differences. And you outline that in as many points as you can. Your past client may need a reminder right before you get a proposal in front of them, right as you get to do project kickoff, and right as you set up the team to work together with their organization, of the ways you operate, so that their brain doesn't map back exactly to what it was, the way it was before. Ask about what other expectations they have. Tell them how you would address them. So that's my suggestion. Do a really clear job of outlining your ways of working, where they are enhanced from the past and where they're just different, and what your clients should expect. And then, be true to that. David, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting situation. I think we all tend to lock people into where we knew them. And often consultants run into this where they're looking for folks they worked with in their corporate career. And 15 years ago, you were, a junior assistant something. Now you've gained a lot of experience, but someone from your past still thinks of you as that junior assistant something. All right. So Brady's client still thinks of them in that way. And I think you're right. You need to create separation. Make it really clear, different person, different firm. And not try to, sort of gradually move them along, but make it like, no, we're in a different place now. Great experience. We can definitely help you. So, John, just another happy Monday. James Deeker has not seen a change in the last few weeks, and we didn't get input from others. Suzanne, you wanted answer the question. You want to answer the question about what's going on in the market?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's my guess.
I can give you my sense, Marie-Isabelle. You can tell me what you sense from your clients. The February, so the end of Q of 2024 was looking fairly strong-ish, and then it kind of fell out for a lot of folks towards end of January of this year. February, March, and April seemed to be really hard across the industry. It was weaker. But last few weeks, it feels like it might be unlocking a little bit. That's why I wanted to see what the listeners think. And again, live or replay. Marie-Isabelle, you seen the same thing or different?
Same thing. So, and to be clear, we work on clients as a firm. So when you hear David say your clients, my clients, is people we lead versus folks we serve. So with that distinction being made, in general, with the folks I get to lead the work on, a lot more work coming through the door, more of an expedited timeline on projects, and more of a willingness in the market to say, okay, we're going to address this piece this year, or we want to start in the next couple of months, which I think the year started with a general idea of direction, and then the timelines became a big question mark and very nebulous for folks. And now we're seeing folks say, okay, the end of 2025 will be here before we know it. Let's get going now so that we can show material results before the end of the year. That's the trend I'm seeing.
Okay, cool. All right, Jaron, do we have other things in the grab bag or not? Is there another one? Let's see how long it is.
And I think we're at time, David. So.
No. All right. Then let's we'll close out this week. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for spending 15 minutes with Marie-Isabelle, with me. if you don't have it in the calendar already, there's Jaren will put the link for Monday Live. Also, I think we have either there or somewhere a universal calendar link that will just put it in your calendar. So do that. If you happen to be running a practice under $1 million, come to the next Solo Practice Accelerator, unless you've already been to one. Well, you can come back. We've had repeats. It's a phenomenal program. Registration is now open. So just jump in. It's early bird and get your seat. If you're not connected to Marie Isabelle or to me on LinkedIn, please make sure you're connected. Jaren put up the links there. Thank you very much. And that's it. Look at that. We consumed 15 minutes. Thank you for joining us for 15 minutes. Have an amazing week. Have a great week. Remember, consulting is about them. It's about your clients, not about you. So give them kindness and give them value. And we will see you next week. Take care, all.
Thank you.